Good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about climate change, environment related. That way, it is an important topic. Before we go to the editorial analysis, I would like to talk about the enrichment part. Today, you're going to learn a few words that go with environment. Some of the words are dividend, usually that goes with the corporate world, rely on, you have got many a time. Incongruous, that's an important word. Repercussions, vulnerable, averting. And you're going to work on some important practice questions based on exam topics. Let us go to the editorial. A climate dividend. Climate, everyone knows, but here a lot of students get confused between climate and weather. Weather is everyday phenomenon. That's the reason why if you watch a TV channel, they say today's weather report. What is climate? Pattern of weather for 100 years or 200 years. We use the word climate. Today we all talk about climate change. That is very important, the impact of climate change. Against this backdrop and also an important convention, UN convention, this editorial has been written. A climate dividend. The word dividend, distribution of profits by a corporation to its shareholders. Generally, the word dividend goes with companies, private limited companies, and the company shares the profits. Then we use the word with shareholders, we use the word dividend. But in this context, it means something like the benefits, the benefits. And we also use one term, demographic dividends, means the benefits based on the population. What is the main idea of this editorial? While a net zero commitment can be avoided, India stands to gain from an energy transition. It talks about a possibility, something can be avoided, that is in passive voice. We can avoid something, something can be avoided. While a net zero commitment, now every country is under pressure. They have to go to or they have to resort to net zero commitment. India hasn't committed yet. While a net zero commitment can be avoided, India stands to gain. There's something positive. India stands to gain from an energy transition. That means from non renewable energy sources to renewable energy sources. What is the backdrop? What is the reason to write this editorial? Now you will get an idea. As it prepares to face pressure at the Conference of Parties 26 of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in Glasgow, India is adopting the stand that a national deadline for net zero carbon dioxide emissions is uncalled for. There is one important expression over here, uncalled for, that is appraisal verb. What does it mean? Undesirable or unnecessary. This talks about the stand taken by India as it prepares to face pressure at the Conference of Parties 26 of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in Glasgow. India is adopting a stand, a particular stand. What is that stand? That a national deadline for net zero carbon dioxide emissions is uncalled for. That means there should not be any deadline, national deadline, and that is uncalled for. Means what? Undesirable or unnecessary. On what basis? Given its moral claim to a far greater share of the remaining global carbon budget. Now you have to understand the expression global carbon budget. That means to what extent they can release a carbon or carbon emissions. There's a limit and there's a budget. This is not the regular budget. This talks about the permissible limits when it comes to carbon emissions. Given its moral claim to a far greater share of the remaining global carbon budget, on what basis it can claim that moral claim? The budget, which represents the estimated volume of future emissions. So, what is this carbon budget? It is all about carbon emissions allowed a particular country to what extent it can emit and to what extent it cannot. The budget, which represents the estimated volume of future emissions, that will allow global average temperature rise to be kept within safe limits, well below 2 degrees Celsius or 1.5 degrees Celsius under the Paris Agreement, must anyway be shared by all countries. Now there is a budget carbon budget. That means the carbon emissions, to what extent they can be allowed, to what extent a country can emit. That is a budget it talks about. And the Paris Agreement, based on that, now they have decided it should be ideal 1.5 degrees Celsius, but well below 2 degrees Celsius or 1.5 degrees Celsius under the Paris Agreement must anyway be shared by all countries. Since China, the US, and the EU collective, representing the highest emissions, are expected to occupy a big share of the remaining budget, calculated at between 420 to 580 gigatons of CO2. If you take three sources, China, US, and European Union, representing the highest emissions, so they are going to take the major chunk of the budget, are expected to occupy a big share of the remaining budget, calculated at between 420 to 580 gigatons of CO2. As I said, this is all about carbon emissions. India will again rely on its historical energy poverty, underdevelopment, and low per capita emissions to convince the world that a net zero target is incongruous with the present reality. Now, this talks about the stand that India is likely to take. What is the stand? How is it going to depend? India will again rely on, there's one expression, rely on means what? Depend on. Its historical energy poverty, financial poverty, one expression, energy poverty, one thing, underdevelopment, and low per capita emissions to convince the world that a net zero target is incongruous with the present reality. There's one important word, incongruous, means what? Not in harmony. Something is not harmonious, not properly placed. Then we use the word incongruous. So this is not in harmony with the present reality. That's what it talks about. Yet, as a center must acknowledge, a minimalist approach is not an option, given the global repercussions of emissions for all vulnerable nations and India's own alarming losses from periodic extreme weather events. This talks about, yet as the center must acknowledge something. What is that? Given the global repercussions, again, there are two words over here. One is repercussions. What does it mean? The negative consequences, usually. And one more word, vulnerable, we have got many a time. What does it mean? Someone is vulnerable, something is vulnerable, exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally, to be in a dangerous situation, or jeopardy. You can think of words like jeopardy, endangered, in a position where one can get exploited. So, yet as a center must acknowledge, a minimalist approach is not an option. Given the global repercussions of emissions, it talks about the impact of climate change. Repercussions, that's a negative word, of emissions, carbon emissions, they have already made a negative impact for all vulnerable nations. Many nations are vulnerable, not only India. And India's own alarming losses from periodic extreme weather events. All these extreme weather events because of climate change. One of the reasons, the major reason for climate change, carbon emissions. It can seek convergence with the world on. Now, what is the solution here? This talks about the solution, the main idea of the editorial. It can seek convergence with the world on identifying green growth pathways, aligning future investments with a smart recovery plan for COVID 19, embracing renewable energy more widely, and averting long term lock in effects of fossil fuel dependence in energy generation, buildings, mobility, and so on. This sentence is a lengthy sentence, but in a nutshell, it talks about the solution. Today, when it comes to environment, when it comes to climate change, when it comes to reducing the impact, mitigating the impact of climate change or carbon emissions, obviously the obvious solution is renewable sources of energy and also green lifestyle, eco-friendly products, eco-friendly services. It talks about, it can seek convergence. There's one important word. Usually it goes with reverse. The fact that two or more things or ideas come together, become similar or come together, converge to meet. It can seek convergence with the world. When it comes to certain areas, it has to go with the world. It can seek convergence. You all know the meaning of the word seek, to search for. You're all job seekers. It can seek convergence with the world on what? On identifying green growth pathways. This is very important. aligning future investments with a smart recovery plan for COVID-19, aligning, keeping in line with, embracing. This is an important word. What is the meaning of the word embrace? Accept a belief, theory, or change willingly and enthusiastically. Embracing. All countries have to embrace renewable energy more widely. That is a solution. In fact, today when we talk about the source of negative impact is the fossil fuels, and they come under conventional or non-renewable energy sources. But today, to avoid that, to prevent that, we have to resort to. Every nation has to resort to renewable sources of energy. We also use the term non-conventional sources of energy, like wind energy, solar energy, tidal energy, embracing renewable energy more widely and averting. There's another important word, avert. Avert means what? To prevent or ward off. Something negative you prevent. Averting long-term lock-in effects of fossil fuel dependence in energy generation, buildings, mobility, and so on. We have to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels. An immediate leap into net zero may yet be avoided. We can avoid that. The main idea of the editorial, something can be avoided. What is that? Net zero uh, condition. An immediate leap into net zero may yet be avoided. Still, we can avoid that. And there's one important word here, leap. Jump or spring a long way to a great height or with great force. An immediate leap into net zero may yet be avoided, can be avoided, and a core message, important message at the Glasgow would be that rich countries are yet to deliver on the promised 100 billion US dollars a year from 2020 to help poor nations adapt to climate change. Now, rich countries have promised that, what is a promise? To deliver on the promised 100 billion US dollars a year from 2020 to help poor nations adapt to climate change. That means they have to stick to that promise. But India's case can be strengthened only with a clear plan for a multi sectoral energy transition. This editorial has two dimensions. One is something can be avoided. What can be avoided? Commitment to net zero, that can be avoided. The other one, transition. In this transition, India has to gain. It has to do it in a smart way or proper way. But India's can be strengthened. How can it be strengthened? Only with a clear plan for a multi-sectoral energy transition. This is all about energy transition. But energy transition is not that easy. Two things are required when it comes to energy transition. One is funds are required. The other one, technology is required, technology know-how. And you get the funds from the rich countries, one thing. And also the technology transfer is required from the countries which have the technology. There is little evidence, for instance, that the indirect carbon tax in the form of very high levies on automotive fuels has been earmarked for a big green push through affordable electric mobility or even a financial dividend to all citizens to mitigate inflationary price effects on essential consumption. Again, a lengthy sentence, but it talks about there is little evidence, means no evidence, a little, at least some, little, almost nothing. It has a negative connotation. There is little evidence, for instance, that the indirect carbon tax in the form of very high levies, levy means to impose tax usually, on automotive fuels has been earmarked. Another important word, earmark, designate funds or resources for a particular purpose, for a big green push through affordable electric mobility or even a financial dividend to all citizens to mitigate inflationary price effects on essential consumption. There is no clear, it talks about something is not quite obvious. There's little evidence, means there's no evidence regarding all these aspects. Coming to the next sentence, a national scientific advisors have argued in a joint statement on the eve of the UN climate conference, and to which India's principal scientific advisor is a signatory, part of the deal, part of the agreement. It is essential for governments to draw precise technological, socio-economic, and financial policies and requirements to demonstrate a commitment to the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal. Now, every country, for all the countries, according to Paris Agreement, there is a goal. What is that? It has to be, when it comes to, the goal is 1.5 degrees Celsius. It should be at that range between 2 and 1.5. For that, what is required? Based on our national scientific advisors have argued in a joint statement on the eve of the UN Climate Conference, and to which India's principal scientific advisor is a signatory. What do these scientists say, or scientific advisors say? It is essential for governments, it is indispensable for governments to draw up precise, means crystal clear, technological, socio-economic, and financial policies and requirements to demonstrate a commitment to the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal. Otherwise, it is not possible. The country must seize the moment and present convincing plans that will be rolled out in the present decade in order to attract climate finance, even while buttressing the argument for a medium term window to taper down carbon emissions. Now, there's an opportunity. The country must seize the moment. Seize, usually it has a negative connotation. It means to grab something using force, or to take hold of something suddenly and forcibly. The country must seize the moment and present convincing plans that will be rolled out in the present decade in order to, the plans should attract climate finance. And these plans should be based on renewable sources of energy, and they have to find green pathways, even while buttressing the argument for a medium term window to taper down carbon emissions. Buttressing, another important word, increase the strength or justification for, or you can simply say reinforce, strengthen the argument for a medium term window to taper down. Taper means to reduce gradually carbon emissions. If severe floods, droughts, and more frequent storms erode the assets of citizens, governments of the future will have to pay for the lack of foresight today. If this continues, what will happen? Already we have been experiencing. If severe floods, droughts, and more frequent storms erode the assets of citizens, erode, usually it goes with soil erosion, you all must be knowing. Erode means what? To diminish or destroy by degrees, to gradually remove or slowly remove the assets of citizens. Governments of the future will have to pay for the lack of foresight today. That means the governments of the future will be questioned based on the lack of foresight today. Taper means to gradually come down, to decrease in size, tapering, to become narrow. It ends on that particular note. So this is all about the editorial. It is related to climate change, Paris Agreement, the convention, UN convention, conference of parties, and whether it is feasible or not feasible, a net zero commitment, and also what is the solution. The solution is obviously green pathways, renewable sources of energy, and clear policies, technological ideas, whatever. Everything should be crystal clear. It talks about that. What are the possible questions based on this editorial? What is this editorial about? I strongly recommend you should write about this editorial. What is the reason? You may get in prelims or mains as a passage, and you should gather information about Paris Agreement. You should have the basics at your fingertips. And also, there is a possibility. Every year, they ask questions related to environment in the descriptive paper as well. But they may ask questions related to pollution, generally from a layman's point of view, not technically speaking. But if you have the information at your fingertips, all about environment, global warming, greenhouse gases, renewable sources of energy, climate change, you can write a very effective essay, and that will make all the difference. What must anyway be shared by all countries? Carbon budget that should be shared by all countries. Answer. What would be a core message at Glasgow? Some core message, important message. How can India's case be strengthened? How to convince, how to justify. There are certain ways, so you have to write about that. In the context of the editorial, what is essential for governments? For all governments, something is essential. What is that? When you go through the editorial, you can easily answer this question. So, this is all about the editorial. Now, let us go to practice questions. Today, many questions are rather easy. Prelims level, you should get a good score. Please read the first one and try to spot the error. It is widely believed that the village which is situated on the eastern coast of India will be wiped out within a decade. Yes, carbon budget, taper, gradually decrease or wane. So here, as I said, many today practice questions based on exam topics, very easy to answer, many of them, but nothing wrong. Sometimes you have to. These are actual questions from previous year's papers, mind you guys. So it is widely, we, someone or something or people widely believe, that is active voice. Passive voice, it is widely believed. Any sentence in passive voice, the main verb should be in the past participle form. Based on that, believe is not correct. It should be, it is widely believed. What is the reason? And this question is about what? Present tense. Present tense, passive voice. People widely believe something or believe it. It is widely believed by the people. By the people we don't mention. So it is widely believed. It is present tense in passive voice. You should always ask the question, what is this about? And make a note. That helps in the long run. Yesterday I met an old friend when I'm going to the market. Sometimes previous years, questions from previous years' papers, I really wonder. People say English is very difficult. We are not able to cross the single digit. But all these questions are so easy. You can get 10 plus effortlessly. That too, one reading you can answer. You don't have to read the sentence for the second time. Kalyan, first one to respond. Very good. Yes, Bhavana, present tense, passive voice. Here, yesterday, what is a clue for you? Yesterday. Yesterday goes into the past. I met an old friend. The verb is in the past. And this talks about a situation where something happened in the past. For that, we have to use past tense. What happened in the past? I met my friend, an old friend. And that time something was going on. For that, we have to use past continuous. But they have used present continuous, which is not correct. Based on that, there is an error in the third part, C. Yesterday, I met an old friend when I was walking. Here you have to say I was. While I was walking, when I was walking. So, what is this about? It is about the first use of past continuous tense. What is the first use of past continuous tense? We use it to express an action that was going on when something else happened in the past. And here it is a combination of past continuous tense plus past tense. It could be the other way, past tense plus past continuous tense. You can also say, while I was going to the market, when I was going to the market, I met my friend yesterday. That is also right. Always recollect what the question is about based on that. That helps in consolidation. The criminal was sentenced to the death and was hung for his crime. These questions, perhaps under pressure, not easy, but otherwise, these questions are very easy, should not be a problem. Today, I expect you guys to get all the error location 5 out of 5. The criminal was sentenced to the death and was hung for his crime. Oh, I don't remember that. Yes, yes, while I was walking, but a different context, di- different adjectives were used. The criminal was sentenced to the death. This is an important question because if you are not aware of the rule, then you cannot spot the error. The criminal was sentenced. This is in past tense, passive voice. They sentenced the criminal. The criminal was sentenced to the death. Nothing wrong. and was hung. This is also in past passive voice. But where is the error? This question is based on confusing verbs. There are two verbs, one verb but two different forms. If you take the verb hang, it can be a regular verb, it can be an irregular verb. As a regular verb, hang, hanged, hanged. It goes with persons, to kill a person with a rope. As an irregular verb, hang, hung, hung. This goes with things. Here we are talking about a person. Then we cannot say hung, we have to say hanged. Was hanged for his crime. So you have to recollect this one. Exactly, that is right, Ramesh. You should also recollect not now, related confusing, other confusing verbs. There are so many: bear, bore, born, find, found, founded, founded, founded. Like that, about five or six are there. All of them you have to recollect. Go to question number 4. Hang, hanged goes with persons. Yes, Surya John. He is determined to be success in whatever field he chooses. Where is the error? This question is based on what I call rather, word forms. Quite often, bank exams they ask questions related to word forms. Yashashvi has got it right. E- Elon Musk is determined to be success or successful. Success is not correct. It should be successful. Successful is the right word. No, no, no. To be successful. To be successful. To succeed. No, to be successful. Determined to be successful is the right expression, correct expression. And what is this question about? It is about the word forms. Quite often they ask questions related to word forms, and if you're good at word forms, easy to answer. One reading, 1 second, you can get the correct answer. Not only the students, but also the principal were laughing at the joke he cracked. To be successful, yes, deep thinker. Not only the students, but also the principal was laughing, not were laughing. The verb agrees with the nearest noun. Principal was laughing at the joke he cracked. I think you guys got it right, almost all. Very good. Subject verb agreement related. And the next 5 questions deal with blanks. Word forms, when you learn vocabulary, that time itself, whenever you come across a new word, you have to learn the word forms. That's a very good question. Who is that? Prasad's. A simple technique. Imagine you have come across a new word. Here you have include. Then and there itself, you have to learn the forms. If you refer a good dictionary, you will definitely come across all the forms. Inclusion, noun form. Include, verb. Included, included. Including, adjective. All the forms you have to know. When you learn the words, that time itself you have to focus on word forms. That helps in the long run. There is nothing to indicate the building's past. The fireplace. Included, the fireplace. Belonged, they're not grammatically correct. And contextually, barred, foster, foster child. There's one combination, foster child. To take care of someone, to look after someone. But here, except, what is the answer? There's nothing to indicate the building's past except the fireplace. Fireplace is it goes with Western culture. Western, if you go to Western countries, every house you come across a fireplace. What is the reason? Temperate countries, they have to experience cold all the time. So every house in the living room, you come across fireplace. Every house has a fireplace. Two circus elephants that perform together when crossing paths 23 years later. This is an interesting sentence. Yes, that is right. But everyday English, conversation English, we use the word fireplace. Accept, accept, expert, all related words you have written. Ramesh, please go to question number 2. Look after someone, exactly. Foster child. Here, two circus elephants that perform together. Use your grammar knowledge. Happy, no. Verb is required. Believe, not correct. Greater, all cannot be considered. Angered, rejoiced. But two circus elephants that perform together. Angered, why should they? Rejoiced when crossing paths 23 years later. So answer is the fourth option. I think you guys got it right. All these are very easy, but do remember, all the questions are from previous year's papers, and this is all sometimes a paper, very easy paper you may come across. At least a few questions. The law farmers not only to save and re-sow multiply seeds, but also to sell them to other farmers, no matter what the original source of the seed is. Third one, the law covert that goes with polity. Someone who resigns, leaves a particular party and goes to another party to get the information. Not relevant here. Implements the law, third person singular. You cannot use a verb with s or es. Emits, you can use, in fact, emits. Emit goes with smoke and toxic fumes. Law emits not the right combination. Implements farmers. Permits. Here the idea is the law allows farmers not only to save. So based on that, either allows or permits, you don't see the word allows, permits. Both mean one and the same. The law permits. Sentence is in present tense, affirmative. Law third person singular. We should add s or es to the verb. Permit permits. The law permits what? Farmers not only to do something but also to do something else. Answer is D. Not relevant. Deserts. All these words are not contextually. They don't go with the context. Small farmers must be educated and with proper incentive structures to engage with agriculture. Today's paper, you should get, in my opinion, I think 25 questions, 20 plus effortlessly. How come no response? Question number 4. Small farmers must be educated and fascinated. Fascinate means what? Attract. That doesn't go with this context. Encouraged, hold this one. Why should they? Educated, positive, and why should they be discouraged with proper incentive structures? We need a positive word, not a negative word based on the context. And harvested, farmers cannot be harvested. Farmers harvest the crop. Invited with proper incentive, again not relevant. What is the answer? Small farmers must be educated and encouraged with proper incentive structures to engage with agriculture. Not harvested. No, 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 no. Farmers harvest the crop. Here, we are talking about how to deal with small farmers. What are we supposed to do? Small farmers must be, it is in passive voice, they must be educated and they must be encouraged with proper incentive structures to engage with agriculture so that they take up agriculture. Please go to question number 5. Raipur, despite being between two rivers, the Krishna and the Tungabhadra, here it is not required. Is a dust bowl in May first week. Raipur, despite being what? Surrounded, then you need the preposition by, surrounded by, so it is not correct. Despite being located between, seems right. Reveal means what? Disclose. It is not relevant here. Reveal the information, disclose information, secrets. Settle. Being settled, grammatically not correct. So what is the answer? Despite being located between two rivers. Answer is B. This is not easy. You got to read very carefully. This also from previous year paper, not the Hindu paper, today's or yesterday's. Previous year paper, you got to read very carefully. One D. No, one is not D. Yes, who is this? One E, very good. Ramesh Naidu and Sanju, those only two students. Also, Ahana, Geo, deep thinker. It is E. Believe it or not, it is possible to laugh without experiencing a funny event, and simulated laughter can be just as beneficial as a real thing. C. What is C? To add simulated laughter into your own life, search for laugh yoga or laugh therapy. You cannot go to C. Yes, here you have to use D, uh, substantiating the statement. ED. A Georgia State University study found that incorporating bouts of simulated laughter into an exercise program helped improve older adults' mental health as well as aerobic endurance. It can even make exercise more fun and productive. This can be considered, or you can consider A also. But where will you place D later? That becomes a problem. 2D. Then what is the third one? Then it should not be a problem. It should be C. To add simulated, then how do you add simulated laughter? To add simulated laughter into your own life, search for laugh yoga or laugh therapy groups. Or you can start simply by laughing at other people's jokes, even if you don't find them funny. Plus, hearing others laugh, even for no apparent reason, can often trigger genuine laughter. CBA, it should be. And it can even make exercise more fun and productive. EDCBA. Yes, that is right. CBA it should be, not ACB. A bit difficult, you got to do it very carefully. I think a few students have got it right. Now, here you see 5 idioms. Try to. A British court has ruled that British arms sales to Saudi Arabia. No, no. 4 words, they may be correctly spelt, wrongly spelt. You have to find out. I should have underlined, ruled, sales, where, grounds. Whether these words are correctly spelt or not, if you think one of the words not correctly spelt, you have to identify that. A British court has ruled that British arms sales to Saudi Arabia unlawful on humanitarian grounds. Here we cannot use where. That is not correct. I think Kiran Kumar has got it right. It should be sales to Saudi Arabia the verb primary auxiliary, were unlawful. That is a correct expression. Not where, were. I'm tired. I will underline the 4 words: hearing, pious, devotion. So, which word is not correct? Properly spelt or inappropriate? Either misspelt or inappropriate. I'm tired of hearing politicians making pious pronouncements. Pious means sacred, religious, composed, balanced, more of religion, religious, about their devotion to the people. So, tired, what is the correct spelling here? Tired, tired, yes. This cat and mouse tactic was purposely designed to provoke enrage and panic. This cat and mouse tactic was purposely designed to provoke and panic the unemployed. There's also an easy one, should not be that difficult. 3C. Enrage is not correct. It should be enrage, make someone angry. Enrage. Enrage is not correct. It should be enrage. That could be a bit difficult under pressure. Robustness, strength, turnouts. Oh, easy one. Candidates. In the fray. In the fray means in the competition. There's also an easy one, should not be that difficult. One reading, you should be able to spot the misspelt or inappropriate word. Please go to question number 4. C. What is the spelling of candidate? Candidates. This is the correct spelling. Yes, an easy one. Here you see 5 idioms you have to. The passing of anti-defection law struck a chill to the heart of every opportunistic legislator. Opportunistic legislator. This is the idiomatic expression, chill to the heart. The passing of anti-defection law struck a chill to the heart of every. Chill to the heart caused anger. Based on the context, you can make out aroused fear, caused relief. No, 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 no. Anti-defection law struck a chill to the heart means aroused fear. Answer is the third option. Chill. Chill has many meanings. Here it has a negative connotation. Caused relief. Why will it cause relief to these people? Those who look for a chance to jump. Answer is a third option. I'm a bit surprised. The seamy side of life, usually we say, of life. The seamy side of life. What does it mean? On the right side, unpleasant aspect, visible aspects. On the left side of something, all funny options. What is the answer for the second one? Unpleasant aspect. Very good. Seamy side of life means unpleasant aspect of something. Usually it goes with life. Have a chip on one's shoulder. What is the meaning of this idiom? Have a chip on one's shoulder. These are important. Idioms are very important from SBI pure point of view. You got to learn a lot of idioms. Have a chip on one's shoulder. Go to the third one. Yes. Carry a burden. No, no, not correct. Suffer an ailment. Feel physically tall. Answer is nurse a grudge. Grudge against someone. Have a chip on one's shoulder means nurse a grudge. Not the fourth option. Oh, surprising. All of you have chosen the fourth option. Nurse a grudge. Bite the dust. What is the answer? Bite the dust. Kiran Kumar has got it right. Yadav also. Someone has bitten the dust. Bite, bit, bitten. Please mention the question number. That's always better. Bite the dust means what? Suffer a defeat. Yes. It is not eat poorly. It is not clean something. It is not attack and defeat somebody. Grudge means a feeling, a bad feeling inside against someone. Grudge. A feeling because bad feeling because you feel he has harmed you, he has troubled you, so you want to give it back to him. You have been not treated properly, then you have a grudge. Imagine there's an employee. He expected the hike in the salary, but the management has not given the hike, and a genuine worker. Then we say he has a grudge against the management. The news of the accident came as a bolt from the blue. This is an important one. They have given many a time SBI, PO. Something comes as a bolt from the blue. Bite the bullet. You can say that also. Suffer a defeat. Go to the fifth one. Something unexpected. No. Unpleasant. Something horrible. Something unexpected and unpleasant. It has a negative connotation. Bolt from the blue has a negative connotation based on that. Unexpected and unpleasant. Answer is the fourth option. Very good. Some students have got it right. Now let us go to editorial vocabulary. Quickly, we'll work on what time is it? We have 10 minutes. Incongruous means what? Part of speech? Adjective. What is the meaning of that? One C, not harmonious. Repercussions. Noun. Repercussion, repercussions. Usually we use it in the negative form. So what is the answer? Repercussions. Consequences, negative consequences. Answer is J. Vulnerable, part of speech, adjective. What does it mean? Exposed to the possibility of getting harmed, in danger, jeopardy. So H is the answer. Earmark is a verb, a regular verb. Earmarked. Designate something for a particular purpose. Usually it goes with funds, resources. Answer is B. Convergence noun, converge verb means what? Come together. Six. Oh, you guys are still with the fourth one. Yes, fifth one is over. Go to the sixth one. Embracing. Yes, it embrace is a verb. What does it mean? Accept willingly a new idea, a new policy, something that is new. You accept, you welcome, you accept. D is the answer. Avert is a verb, averting. Avert means what? Prevent, usually something bad, something dangerous you try to avoid. Prevent or ward off. Answer is E. Leap, leapt, leapt. It's a verb. It can be a noun as well. What does it mean? Jump a long way. Take a long jump. A. And seize is also a verb. Seize, take hold of something using force, forcibly. Answer is G. Buttressing. Buttress verb. So what does it mean? Reinforcing, reinforce. I. That's all. These are the words you have to focus on from today's editorial. Some words are very important. Incongruous, very important. All other words are rather convergence, you must be knowing. Yes, buttressing. These are new words. Other words we have got many a time. That's all from today's editorial. Thank you very much for being with me till what time is it? 7:54. Have a nice day and do remember to subscribe and share. After the session, some students say that Telegram link is not working, but everyday students join. If it doesn't work, how can they join? That is a bit surprising for me. Still, I'm ready to help. If you feel you're not able to join the Telegram group, you go to Telegram, try to, my number is there. You just message. So I'm not able to join the Telegram group. Then I will add you. I did the same yesterday. One of the students brought it to my notice.